Hey guys, Brian here from Starlite. Hope everybody out there is well. Tonight we've got Nolan Knight on here, and he's got a new book out called The Gorgon of Los Feliz. And we're going to talk a little bit about the novel and then just about Nolan in general. But yeah, so first off, Nolan, seriously, and I mean this wholeheartedly. Um, First off, congratulations,
Thanks.
straight
Thank-
up. And then secondly, every time I finish one of these, I'm going to be totally fucking honest with you. Every time I finish one of these, um, I sit there and go, "Holy shit, I
Hmm.
did another one." You know what I mean? Like it's like creating this stuff out of nothing is something. It really is. And so I'm always amazed when we do this stuff. And so you've got this one which features Cameron Kilbride, which is the protagonist. And so yeah, I'm stoked to have you on. I want to talk to you about it. But more than anything else, man, it's just congrats.
Thanks, man. I'm always happy to be here, and anytime anyone takes a chance on the book and reads it and likes it, it's just it's the best feeling in the world.
It is. Yeah. Yeah. So if you would, again, like I mentioned earlier, I hate to use the phrase, but elevator pitch, tell us what the Gorgon of Los Feliz is about.
Yeah, yeah. The Gorgon of Los Feliz is about a short con street hustler in East Hollywood who's just kind of hustling through life. Her main gig is being a DJ at dive bars, which out in LA, it's pretty common territory. Everyone knows a friend that has that as their occupation, yet you don't know how they get by. And this is kind of my imagination of how that would happen. And she's just a street hustler who gets the opportunity when a family comes to her asking to find their lost daughter, who she barely knows. She knows her only through social media, but she needs the money, so she agrees to do it, and then kind of sends the trajectory of the entire book into a slow chaos.
Yeah. Okay. Good. And so it should be noted, and I want to point this out, that she at some point in the book kind of takes on the identity of
Mm.
who she's looking for. Yeah. So so one of the things that I thought was really interesting when I'm reading the book and I'm looking at it and I'm looking at the blurbs and things like that. One of the comments was an unflinching look at the exploits of identity. And I thought,
Mhm.
huh, that's that's a really interesting one, especially when with everything going on right now in Los Angeles and everything else. So,
Mhm.
um, any any words on that?
Well, the explicit identity is nothing new to Los Angeles, right? Um, the entire concept of it portrayed to the outside world entices people to come here and give their hand at it. But when you lived here your whole life and you get to sit back in the bleachers and watch that unfold for 40 something years, right? It becomes pretty tangible to imagine a person that can kind of slither through the slog of Los Angeles and have a totally kind of okay existence. They meet people all the time, never really know anybody. People know of them, they don't know about them. And around here, like if you're, if you're not from Los Angeles and you come into Los Angeles, it kind of breeds that same melting pot, right? So if I went to Hollywood and try to do something now, I'd have my childhood buddies in Torrance being like, "Who is fucking idiot?" You know what I mean? But on the opposite side of that, you have people that get into that maelstrom and they can ride it for every penny it's worth. And Cam Kilbride, she's 23. She only knows everything that's behind her, and she doesn't give a shit about anything in front of her. And she'll use anything to her advantage to get ahead. And that was the whole impetus of writing the book and what made it so fun to like get it going.
Sure. No, totally. And you're absolutely right. I mean, both of us being native Angelinos, I mean, how many actors out there use their
There's a lot. I don't know. I haven't been out there in a while, but
how,
I'm
how many
sure.
how many actors use their real names? Seriously.
Oh, I don't know. I mean, um, but there's plenty of actors out there who aren't actors, but they're acting in Los
Exactly.
Angeles,
Yeah.
in Hollywood, in Eagle Rock, in Los Feliz, in
Yep.
Lincoln Heights, dude. Like you can
San
throw a rock
Pedro.
and hit
Yep.
one, and you could live there for 10 years, meet 50 people, and all of them be like, "Fuck that guy," right? But it took you that 10 years to meet all these people to learn like this person's a little shady, or that guy owes me a Myrtle burger at the E Rustic, right? Like everyone's got that guy.
Yeah.
I got that guy, and he does owe me a Myrtle burger. But yeah, it's a fun territory to dabble in.
Yeah, for sure. So, the Gorgon of Los Feliz, Gorgon in particular, where'd you get the title from?
You know, I don't even remember. I remember telling Jenny, my wife, that, and she was just like, "Oh yeah, that's it." But I think what it came from was with the Gorgons, like y'all know, everyone knows Medusa and all these things, and like there's three of them, I believe. I wrote this in 2020 during the pandemic, so like my research for it is like kind of far back in my brain. But outside of Medusa, there's Euryale and one other, and they were immortal, And there was something about that immortality that this street hustler had to ascribe to. I mean, you come to Hollywood, you want to star eventually, or you want this the name up in lights and all these things. So there's something of that immortality aspect to it, but at the same time, the coldness to it, especially of like turning people to stone, your look, and all these things. It just kind of it rendered a character that was not necessarily heartless, but just kind of numb if it didn't involve her in some way or another. And I just thought that it would be a clever way to have the people that actually know her, that she's somewhat let into their lives, like playfully refer to her as, when really she pretends to hate it, but she loves it. Like she eats it up in spades.
Gotcha. Okay. Very cool. And yeah, I mean, how many people do you know like that that, you know, they Los Angeles is, let's be honest, Los Angeles is beautiful. I love it, but
Mm.
it's a city of hustlers.
It's not for everybody. I mean, I lived in Los Feliz for a little over 6, 7 years because I used to work in downtown, and we lived in a really cool complex. The same complex that actually Cam lives in is the same unit I lived in,
Oh, nice.
and it's like 32 units. Uh, and in the whole time we lived there, the only people I knew, because they were there the whole time, were the property managers, and there's one neighbor we had, Lisa, like on the second floor, and
Right.
then of the rest of the 30 units, outside of the two that were occupied, or 29, the revolving door was monthly. I mean, I got so many classic books from people that moved and then had to move away or got evicted and all their shit got thrown out in front. And I'd walk over there and I'd be like, I got Bizarro LA that way, like the original one. And then that I was like, gave me the courage to just like go into the San Fernando Valley and like drink at the Blue Room or eat at Frank's, like all these little windows that happened because of, and it's shitty to say, but it happened because of failures of others, or whatever it is. And it wasn't like they were coming here for fame or what. Who knows what they were coming in for? They got some job working insurance or whatever. The turnover is so quick.
So
It,
quick.
it it pulls you in, it shits you out, And the ones that are here for a semblance of time, like, good on you, dude. Like, you got your angle, you figured it
Yep.
out. I'm sure New York's the same way, but
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not even about to talk on New York. I'm not from New York, you know what I mean? But at the same time, like, it's a pretty unique spot, you know?
It really is. By the way, though, I want to point out that we did publish a story of you writing about New York.
Yeah, from the perspective of an Angelino, because
Yes.
you'll never. I don't have the brass to go into New York and
Sure.
then start being like. I mean, first off, my dad's from Brooklyn. His whole family's out there.
Oh, okay.
I don't even want to know what that's like. If I'm like, so I'm from Brooklyn, right, or wherever the fuck that I think it is, right?
Right.
Like,
Right.
which is, fuck, dude. It's movies, basically,
Right.
books or whatever, mashes of things that I think are Brooklyn, The Wanderers, or like, right.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
like, the gall to even think that I could pull that off to me blows my mind. Like, I would never in a million years attempt it or have the foresight to try and get it published. But if I write it from a perspective of a person like me going to New York and being like, what's a fucking chopped cheese or whatever, like,
Right. Right.
then it becomes anchored in authenticity in the only a way that, like, I know how to write it. Because I don't know the authenticity of the chopped cheese and the Lower East Side, and but
Sure.
there's millions of people that do that could do a better job at explaining it.
Yeah. And I think that funny enough brings up a really interesting point about Los Angeles because um as native Angelinos, we have a very different perspective than most people do of Los Angeles because people
Mm.
who aren't in or are from Los Angeles look at Los Angeles and think nobody's actually born in Los Angeles, right?
Well, Los
Everybody
Angeles
just
is a
comes there.
giant sprawl, man. There's
It, it,
11 million
but
people living
exactly,
there.
it's enormous. I mean, it's bigger than, so many states in the US.
Well,
It's not even funny.
yeah. I mean, that goes back a little bit what I was talking about of just, Los Angeles's identity is mostly, made up by outsiders on what this thing is, and they're not wrong, the superficiality and all the bullshit that goes on at the Chateau Marmont or, whatever, the Hollywood Hills, like all that shit. That all exists, and I'm sure it's great. But to me, I'm like more interested in the guy picking up the trash at the Chateau Marmont that lives in fucking Harbor City,
Yeah.
that knows the taco place that I don't know about, or whatever. Like, there's a different level of introspection when it comes to the greater area because it changes every 4 blocks.
Oh,
And to
totally.
think that you can blanket it in some way
Right.
because I don't know, you read a Jonathan Gold article and you ate in Koreatown or what, like, it comes across on the page to people who live here, but it I'm sure it does well across the board to people who don't. And that's why it's enticing. And I like reading those novels too. I want to escape from here sometimes, you know? My commute today was shit. But at the same time, like, I'm here with you. I'm like, we're talking about the written word. I mean, it doesn't get much better, but it's a funny town, man. It's real funny. And to think it, I've been here my whole life. I don't know. I'm learning new shit
Yep.
every day, man. Like, but that's why I love it. I can't get enough of it because I'm like too curious about it.
Yeah, well, and like you mentioned, it's the funny part about it is that it's enormous. I mean,
Uh,
LA itself is what, 3 or 4 million, but then you go to LA County
mhm.
and don't get me wrong, we both know, people in like Thousand Oaks or West Covina are like, "Oh, I'm from LA." Well, that's not
Well,
LA.
Thousand Oaks, I think, is Ventura, but like,
But it
county. But
is in the sense of like they consider themselves Angelinos still.
that's a feather. It's well, part of that is like trying to, like, you've traveled before and people are like, where are you from? And you go like Los Angeles, but then if you're meet someone abroad then they're from America, then they're like, oh, what part? Because they know it's just a blanket of
Right.
things. Like, I live in Long Beach. I grew up in the South Bay. I lived in Los Feliz. Like, I lived all over. But if I'm like to tell you the truth, I'm at the southern tip of Los Angeles County right now, right? The
Right.
northern tip is like Lancaster, right by Edwards Air Force Base, right by the San Andreas Fault. Um, but I guess we could all claim, a Dodger victory last year, right? Um,
Right.
but at the same time, it's what makes it great. It's too diverse to not just be mesmerized with different stuff all the time, man. Like restaurants and just
And
it's a
and that's part of what makes a character like Cameron Kilbride
mhm.
so effective because
Yeah.
it's such a consistently changing environment that
Mhm.
you can become essentially whoever you want to be.
Exactly. I mean, it's chameleon waters, dude. Like she only gives out as much information as she wants, and then she plays everyone off each other to support that narrative. So whatever anyone says, of course she is, or of course she isn't, right? um, Reality's perception, and she figured that out at like 19. And so going forward, it kind of puts her beyond her years when you're reading the book
Sure.
slightly, but at the same time, her follies that eventually unravel are her own undoing and virtually just like a lack of experience on her hustler end.
Yeah.
Um, but it was fun, man. It was fun to get in there, and like everything that I've ever been interested in is always character driven. And so developing Richard Stevenson and his wife, and um, to me, it's like I get lost in that. I'm more interested in these people that some of them I just grow to hate. You know,
Sure.
some
Yeah.
of them I love, and I'm just like don't want to let go. But at the same time, it's the fun for me is in that aspect of it. The volition of the novel, you know, that'll come in its own way, but um, driving it with the characters is the fun part.
For sure. And there's a lot of writers that watch this, but then there's a lot of people that aren't writers as well. And you guys need to understand that as writers, we have a very love-hate relationship with our characters, right? In that in that you create something and then all of a sudden numerous chapters happen and events happen and all of a sudden you realize, I don't really don't like this character very
Yeah,
much.
but then they start talking to each other, and then you realize that they got to be there. And then I've had that happened with me with the Neon Lights when like with Ray Satin and these guys that were in it. I was just like I wanted nothing to do with it when it was over. And
Hmm.
I remember doing something at like the Mysterious Galaxy, and someone was like, "This was back when it was in San Diego. Maybe it's still there. I don't know."
Yeah.
And they're like, "Are you writing another follow up?" And I'm like, "Oh no, dude, there's no way." Like there's just I fucking hate the most of these people so much. Like I don't even want to. This is done in
Right.
my
Right.
mind.
Yep. Yep.
But I think that's just because you're thinking of them so deeply for so long. You know they become family, and then the natural trajectory happens.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where
So,
you're like, I'll see this guy in 3 Christmases, maybe.
right. So there's a couple things you do in this book that I need to talk to you about. War Child.
Yeah.
Um, we n number one is that and I don't know if this is down and out or if this is you or what have you, but um at the
Oh
beginning
wait,
of the
Jenny's coming over right now.
hey Jenny.
Hold on, she's like, come on. That's why he's just gonna keep going.
No worries, man. So
Hold on, I gotta help.
yeah, yeah. So so there's a couple questions I want to ask you about the um I don't even know what you want to call them, more kind of technical, I guess, aspects of
Mhm.
uh the publication. So two things. Number one is each chapter um has kind of a almost a brief summary
Mhm.
for it.
Yeah.
Was that your idea, or was that down and out? And did you write that, or
No, it came across, that's a little Don Quixote vibes. You know what I mean? Like it's just kind of giving you a little taste before
yeah,
it's just another thing to keep you turning the page, and at the same time when you get deep into a book and you have these little things there, they're for me for reference, but at the same time they're fun, um but yeah, I read Don Quixote years ago and I was just like, oh man, this is like, you want to put the book down and then you see the little thing and then you're like, oh, keep going. But it was kind of, I didn't start out doing it. That probably came across like when I was, I don't know, like 60 pages in or something like that. And um, I thought it was good bait.
yeah, okay. You know, um, the two books that I can think that do that are very different, but Don Quixote and Blood Meridian,
Mm-hmm.
because they both kind of give intros. Blood Meridian doesn't do it in sentences; it does it just in little clips of what's coming.
Yeah.
But yeah, they both do that. So yeah, I wanted to ask about that, and then secondly, I mean, I gotta ask honestly. I'm looking at the book and I'm reading it, and no quotation marks.
Yeah, that was actually not my idea. That was
Okay.
when I first when I wrote the first draft, an agent I had at the time had given me a laundry list of notes. He had an editorial team and all this stuff, and I was going through the notes, and at the very end of his last notes, because my first drafts tend to be dialogue heavy, because I'm pretty much figuring out the characters, I'm figuring out what this world it is that they're going to be around,
Yeah. Yeah.
and so I can imagine it was just a lot of quotation marks and a lot of dense dialogue, and so the very last note I got was like, do we need these quotation marks? And then I started looking at it like physically, not reading it, like looking at it, like look at the shape of it, look at the like what this thing looks like, and it's like, yeah, it's like riddled with a lot of quotation marks. And so I was like, well, what would this look like if I took them out? How would I work it? How would I incorporate it in the text to make it transition smoothly, right? I mean, I had only read a handful of books that didn't use them, and there was no like grammatical badge that I was trying to wear doing it. It was
Right.
just a suggestion, and when
Yeah.
I sent the revised edition back, it was like met with a lot of good feedback, and I was like, all right, well, maybe we're onto something here as far as just like this book, because like honestly, this is my third book, my first book, my second book. They're stylistically different. Their format's different. The way that the volition of them is different. Like Gallows Dome uses interludes. Same with Neon Lights, and like there's just a lot of differences in formatting that it came across while I was writing it. It was like I needed to implement something in order to finish to complete the novel in the way that I wanted to complete it. And this was another one of those things where, I mean, I wrote this book in the pandemic, and everything I've written since, I've used quotation marks, or I've used, variants. Well, no, not exactly. I wrote a novella that for action spectacle that doesn't have that, but it's a totally different stripped down piece of fiction. It's just the style and the format. It gets dictated by the story once I get into it.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I was just curious because one of the only there are others, of course, but one of the only authors I know, again, is McCarthy, who disdains quotation marks. And his famous quote about it was was um and I'm paraphrasing, but I'm close, was I want to make sure that the readers are paying attention.
Yeah, I think I've read that before.
Yeah.
And
And
then there's also a James Ellroy quote about McCarthy.
oh, he hated
Who's just like, this guy doesn't use quotation marks. What's wrong with him, or something like
it.
that?
Yeah.
And it's
Oh,
like they don't even chart the same waters, which is hilarious. But he felt threatened, or something happened there for a minute. Um, but there was nothing. I didn't start out writing like that. It just kind of
right.
completed itself in that way,
Okay.
and it was fun to do.
Yeah.
It's not easy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because your brain wants to
Yeah.
click
Oh, yeah.
back,
Yeah.
but once you see it firing with like people that are reading it, or um, you realize it's not a hang up. Um, then it becomes just like focusing on enriching everything around it.
Sure. Yeah. No, I get that. And I love that answer because I originally when I saw it, I was like, "Oh, did Nolan set out from the get-go to do
No,
this?"
no,
But
not at all. And
yeah, I
and
mean,
honestly, I would never, it wouldn't have crossed my mind. You know, um, Making it harder to complete a book novel has never been in my interest, right? Deluding myself into thinking it's going to be a joy is fucking every time, right?
right,
But
right.
that's not. Every book's different in its own way, and there's this one was no different for me.
Yeah. So, so I saw just today, actually, I saw that you have an ad in the new Razor Cake,
Yeah.
which is kind of a punk rock zine, for folks that don't know, and I think that's so cool because to me, personally, let me get over my own little thing here for a second, but uh, uh with Starlight, what we try to do is make whatever we do available to everybody and
Hmm.
in every area possible, right?
Yeah.
And the music scene is 100% a part of that one. And I love the fact that you had that in there. Um, and we get opportunities all the time with Starlight to, like exchange ads and I'm not singling these journals out.
Hmm.
They're all fine. But like the Cincinnati Review or the New Orleans Review or something like that. And
Hmm.
it's like, yeah, but the only people that looks at that are other writers. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
it's
It,
true.
it,
Razorcake's not just punk rock reviews or interviews or anything like that. They got great articles. They have, our friend Jim Rulin. He has a column in there every month, along with Sean Carswell and all these other people. To where it's like it's an event every time one comes in the mail. They have book reviews, zine reviews, CD or CD. Jesus Christ, album reviews. Like it's a melting pot of shit for like-minded individuals who gravitate toward the same things, right? I've been putting ads with them since Neon Lights came out, and it's just a fun community to be involved in, and their circulations, I guarantee it's way more substantial than just about any other avenue. Like I think that, and they're national. Um, I mean, writing for the LA Record for years, if they were
yeah,
still around, I'd be putting ads in there because I know that a lot of the friends I met just from listening to music or going to shows or whatever. You start learning, you read the same stuff,
Yeah.
or like skateboard buddies who have the same interests in these things. Like everything kind of gravitates inward if you can find where the center of that is. And Razor Crake's a great example of pulling everything inward and being inclusive and just cool as shit, man. They've been around forever. And you don't even really have to bring their name up in the community of people that knows what it is. It's kind of like if you know, you know type thing. But it's a great avenue. And nonprofit, they're just their slogans like we play our part or we do our part, and that's exactly what they do.
Right. I love that. That's awesome. Um, so apparently what you're telling me is Starlight needs to
You should at least a quarter
into
page.
into Razor Cake.
But it might not be that easy. It's they fill up quick.
Yeah.
I'll connect you with Daryl, dude. Daryl Gusson's the best. He's in charge of all that stuff.
Awesome. Excellent. So talk to me about every this is one of the things I love so much. Like it just the other day, literally 5 or 6 days ago, we had a podcast and we talked to the authors who were in the recent review, number 6, which
Oh, yeah.
has been getting really good
Congrats on
reviews.
that, man. Six.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's
2 is
crazy.
good.
It's
6
crazy,
is
right?
like
Yeah.
you're on
Yeah.
a roll.
Yeah, so and we had that, and it was great talking with these writers. But the amazing part is that um every single fucking writer that I talk to has a different process, right?
Yeah,
For how they do things. And
that's good.
I love that. Right, exactly. So when you are setting up a novel, because I'm right now in a
Yeah,
novel. I'm almost done. I'm 3/4 of the way through. I will be done with the next Sunny novel within the next month. And
or not, or you can just marinate and let it and then make it as good as it could possibly be. I don't believe
right,
in that shit, honestly.
right. So right, exactly. So that's my point. So that's my point in this question, right? Which is James Elroy, and I love bringing this up just because I think it's so almost obscene, is famous for having outlines
Yeah, that are
longer than
longer
his
than his
novels,
books. Yeah,
which is just asinine to me.
I've
Um,
had I've had nightmares like that.
although, right, although he's fantastic, so
Yeah, he's the
I'm not gonna
best.
knock that.
But where's the fun?
Right, you're
If
right,
I know the last line,
right,
then who
exactly,
gives a fuck? If I
exactly,
don't give a fuck about the book before I start writing it, I don't even want to be around, like in that world. You know what I mean? Like
exactly. I love
there's
that.
no
Yeah,
fun there.
yeah,
But if that's how you do it, then that's how you do it. I don't know.
yeah. So,
Everyone does it their own way. I'm not going to
so
sit here and tell anyone how to do it.
so what I tend to do when I write a novel, and I'm talking novels, not stories. Okay,
Yeah.
not a story. Novel is I tend to have an idea of where it's going to go. Sometimes I have an idea of the end. And what I tend to do is have an idea at the beginning, and then I'll have the next, say, 2 to 4 scenes kind of
Hmm.
set up
Yeah.
as I'm going along. But past that, I don't, I
Are
don't
you
have
outlining?
right. No, 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 no.
Okay.
There's no heavy outline at all. I'm working through it as I go. So for you with
Hmm.
the Gorgon of Los Feliz or
Hmm.
any of your others, uh, Gallows Dome, etc. How do you what
Well,
what
like
what's
each
your process
one's
there?
like with Neon Lights and Gallows Dome, it was a 2-page outline. And I've said this before, and I hope I didn't say it on the last time when we did a podcast, but it's just deluding myself into thinking it's going to be easy. And I haven't followed an outline past maybe like 50 pages of writing the book because it's like you rely on instinct and it says to go right, but you've already gone right a lot. It's been a long time. We're going left, and then all of a sudden the volition of the book, it doesn't really change, but it gets into more uh I wouldn't say comfortable territory. It's like it's more fun to just mine through things that aren't there yet. I remember telling a buddy, for me, like the best part of any book that the whatever the three I've had published is getting to the middle point of it, and it feels like I'm on a skateboard on the top of a hill, and I'm looking down, and I can't see if there's a car coming in the intersection, but like the entire beginning of the story is pushing me to the volition of I'm going down, and going down is the best part of all of it. And does it work out every time? No, but at the same time, you wipe out, but you get up and you fucking and you go back at it, and there's no other explanation on why to keep doing it. I mean, there's the end reward of completing it is good enough, and the excitement of taking the risk is everything. Without the risk, there's nothing in it that I can really get excited about.
Yeah, I hear you. No, I mean, and it's funny. I don't know about you, but when I go into a scene that I know is going to
Hmm.
be very dialogue heavy,
Hmm. Yeah.
I don't have a plan.
I mean,
I just I write what I think or feel the characters would say, but I don't. There's no like overarching. Oh, he needs to say this here, or she needs to say this here. Like,
well, a lot of that'll come across naturally because you know where you want the story to go, and you've known these characters now for
yeah,
4 months or 5 months, and their initial discourse is going to kind of gravitate in that area, but it doesn't necessarily going to gravitate in the way that you anticipated it to.
yeah.
But you recognize when it's coming, and you recognize when you can build off that going forward. You know, but a lot of it is just you're not winging it. You are believing in the foundation that you created and the strength that it's holding behind you as you move forward. You're in a
Oh,
boat with a sail up and you're moving,
yeah, and
right?
that's 100% correct because, like you just said, you're never winging it. It's
No,
you already know these characters.
you almost you're almost stepping back and watching it happen.
Absolutely.
If you got a three-dimensional character who's just doing their own thing, it's hard to not put them in the crosshairs of another and something naturally happen.
Absolutely.
Um, and whatever's going to happen, no matter what you think it's going to be, it'll probably be better than what you think it's going to be
Yeah.
because you're an idiot and you decided to write your whole life, right? I'm just kidding, but like, it's you got to trust in your instincts. And I mean, I couldn't imagine like writing a 300-page book and having a 500-page outline, like,
I can. Yeah. No.
uh, but at the same time, it's different for everybody.
Yes.
Everybody has
Exactly.
the fact that you're sitting down and doing it is enough.
You're right.
Um,
100%.
Richard Lang, you're friends, or, well, Richard, you had him
Yeah.
on the podcast, I think,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Mhm.
He's a buddy. And I remember years ago, he told me, he's like, if you take out a note and scribble on it, technically you've written today. And I never forget about that because it's like you can't beat yourself up if you got a cold or if you're not on schedule. I mean, what is that? It's like you're gonna sit down and write. Barry Gifford's the same way. It's like you sit down and write when you write, you
Yeah.
know. And I'm not gonna tell you when I write.
Yeah.
What do you give a shit?
Yeah.
Like this is just how it goes, And
Right.
yeah, the discipline is gonna be there because the work needs to be done.
Exactly. Well, yeah, and if you want to get it done, it'll get done. I mean that's the
Mm-hmm.
thing. And my dad, who was an artist, he would always he was in the studio. Okay, so I grew up with my dad in the studio a lot, and
Mm-hmm.
sometimes I'd walk back there, and my dad would just be sitting there.
Yeah,
He's not painting. He's not. He's
that's
just
part of it, dude. You're brooding, man. You know, like,
exactly, yeah. And you're like, when I'm like 8 or 10 or whatever, I'm like, well, he's not doing anything. But as you get older, it's like, yeah, the process of creating something um comes from so much kind of rumination, if you will, and thinking about it that and you need that time in order
mhm.
to do it. It's hard to put a finger on, but it's like that aspect is so important because I've seen memes online and things like that say, just because you didn't write anything today or something like that doesn't mean you weren't writing. And it's weirdly, you know, and I fully realize to somebody that is, say collecting garbage throughout the day, I realize that it sounds pretty, precious. I get that. But it's very true. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, you can't shut it off, right? Like
right.
you can, if you're in the middle of a novel and you can shut it off, then maybe you should, right? Uh, but when you're waking up in the middle of the night, you're taking a piss, and then something clicks, and you don't even need to write it down because
Oh yeah.
you're waking up the first thing in the morning, and like this is what's working, and this is what I didn't think about, and I got to go back and kind of go like it becomes every part of your waking moments for the duration of the period that you're doing it. So to get lost in it, it's like it's the best thing because you know that you're like you're
It is.
mining towards something worthwhile. What that's going to be, who fucking knows? But like for
Right.
you, it's going to be worthwhile. And
Yeah.
if, at the end of the day, if it's not worthwhile for you, then who gives a shit? Like it's got to be up to your standards. Something that you've always wanted to read, something that you didn't think you could do, and you're just trying to push yourself to get to this place, and it comes. It doesn't come under deadlines. Like I've never experienced that before, But uh, if you believe in what you defend, like I said before, like if you believe in the foundation that you've set and you have the strength behind you, then you have more opportunities to, take a left where you should have taken a right, and then take a step back for a minute, and then recalibrate, and then realize like, oh man, this scene, everything links in a different way, and your brain's figuring it out. But time's the factor. I mean, every time I finish a novel, I shelve it for a month, 2 months at least, because and then when I'm not writing, I paint, and it's like shitty painting, but it's just like just putting paint on canvas and listening to music and not thinking about any of that shit is like the biggest vacation that I can ever have. And I'm at the tail end of a book right now, and I'm at the point where I'm just like I'm thinking about painting, and I know that like the everything's there. It's just
Right.
finishing the last like whatever 15,000 words,
Right.
but my brain's going like, so what are we gonna do this time with the paints that no one's gonna buy or see,
Right.
But
Right.
you geek out on it. It's just I don't know. It's a weird process to go from beginning to end to, and there's no right way to do it.
Yeah. You know, yeah. I, I, I just had, it's so funny. We think about, we overthink about this stuff, and we think about it, and we write about it, and we've got these characters, and evolve them, and all of a sudden it just occurred to me the other day because I'm towards the end of a novel right now, and I just like literally like lights went off, like holy shit,
Mm-hmm.
I can tie this into that, and this fits with that, and
Do you
like
find yourself when you get deeper into a novel, you start slowing it down? Like I noticed the older I get, when I start reading a really good book, right? Like I'll plow through the first half of the book, and then that second half, I will milk that shit until it is like a fine wine, you know. And I only thought I was doing that with my reading. and that doesn't happen very often, once or twice a year, maybe, or whatever. But then I've started noticing it with like getting to tail end of stuff. And it's like, I don't know if that is like lingering in it or just kind of like reflecting on to not rush through it.
Well, you know, what I can tell you is I honestly, legitimately think you only do that
Mm,
if they're going well,
mm,
right? If you like a book
mm,
that you're listening to or reading, or you like a book that you're writing, I
mm,
think the tendency is to slow down and appreciate it for a second and say, okay, this is what I'm doing. This is really cool. I don't quite want it to end.
mm,
I think I think that's very, very legitimate kind of thing. Whereas I've listened to some books or read some books that I couldn't wait for them to end.
mm. Yeah, we all have.
Right. And so that's a
I
very
mean,
different thing. So
not so much in the last 10 years. I had like a 40-page max, you know. If it ain't firing after 40 pages, like I can't.
right.
There's too much out there to read, you know.
There is. Oh,
I've spent too much time reading through the last 200 pages of that first 40 pages, you know.
yeah.
But
Yeah. No, I hear you. Like Rob Hart and I actually on the last podcast we were talking about reading very commercial fiction
mm,
and what you can learn from it, what you can uh even if you don't necessarily like it, but what you can take from it, right? Because as a writer, I mean, let's be honest, we're always looking to take something and say, oh, I may not like the book, but I love how he or she did this here, you know. Um, and and I mentioned Lee Child, the Jack Reacher author. I've read or listened to at least a bunch of those novels, and there's I don't always love them, but there's something to take from them.
mm,
I think, uh, but he at one point mentioned the shoot, I don't even know the author, but the 50 Shades of Grey lady. And
I know the book cover.
right. I tried. I tried for about 5 pages
Mm.
and I couldn't do it. It was just it was
Well, I mean, different strokes for different folks, you know. If you can get into that commercial niche, that's a good niche to be in, you know. Um, yeah, I don't know what to add to that. I know I haven't read any Lee Child, but I ordered behind him at a Starbucks in the New Orleans BocherCon in 2016. I ordered some coffee behind him. He was very nice, very tall.
very tall.
Um,
British as well.
really, see, I didn't have the courage to talk to him.
Yeah.
But no, I don't know. It's hard to discern between anything that hits and why it hits.
Right.
But if it
And
does hit, then you've tapped into something and you got to run with it, you know?
and so and the way we got into that conversation to begin with is that Rob happened to weirdly at a BoucherCon happened to end up writing a novel with James Patterson,
Mm-hmm.
right? Who, um, James Patterson sells half of the books that
Yeah.
in, in the world, but
He wrote the Bible, didn't he?
yeah, pretty much. But so we started along that vein, but
Mm-hmm.
it's an interesting one because I'm not knocking James Patterson. I don't have anything against him in any way, shape, or form. Uh, and quite frankly, the Alex Cross character is a fairly interesting one, but um, and he's done a good job of integrating younger writers into like he did with Rob writing kind of you know co-writing things with uh
Mm-hmm.
so that it helped their careers, which is cool for sure. But there is a thing, right, about commercial fiction that we all just kind of sit there on the outskirts and kind of look at it like, what's going on there? You know?
I mean, I can't do it. It's a hard thing to do, I would imagine. Like I can't. I've tried it. It's just not my speed. But at the same time, like there's got to be something to it for like there's got to be a formula or like there's something that's got to be it's got to be there for the amount of people that read it to be
Sure,
able to digest it.
sure.
And in that alone, it is interesting to me,
Yeah,
right? Like it's very interesting.
absolutely. And you know what? So this is a good segue because I wanted to ask you about this. So a lot of writers, good or bad, and I'm in one category. So, but a lot of you tend to write, in fact, not tend, you write books that are one-offs.
Yeah, standalones.
Yeah, you write standalones. Um, a, um, a decent amount of writers out there, regardless of what genre or whatever, will write a single character, right? Whether
Mhm.
it's,
Yeah,
you know, Philip Marlowe or Dave Robichaux or,
Bosch.
yeah, sure, Bosch with Connolly or quite frankly, The Lincoln Lawyer too, which I actually enjoy those books a ton, uh,
Mm.
more than the Bosch ones, funny enough. But a lot of writers write with a character, like I write with Sunny,
Mm.
which I'm just finishing up the third novel.
In
Um,
this top
you write a lot of standalone,
secret
so
heavy
I
world.
guess my question here is twofold. Do you think that you would be interested in writing about a character from multiple novels, or do you really enjoy doing the standalone thing on a regular basis?
Well, my brain works in like standalones. I could see myself getting way in the weeds with a series of like, what did I write in book four about if they like ice cream or not? Like that seems and honestly, the reality is like I don't read a lot of series, outside of like reading Ross McDonald's when I was younger and things of that nature, right? Like,
Larcher.
yeah, Archer, and uh, I I just I don't know, I've just never gravitated toward the series.
Yeah.
Um, and I don't know if that's because I didn't like the character, which I doubt, because I'll pick up any Lou Archer book and not even know like the lineage of it and be like, oh shit, this one was written like 20 years after the other one. I thought
Right.
it was before the first. Like you start to get into that, but then you know you cut your teeth reading like Goodis and Williford and
Yep.
Thompson, and you start reading and feeling the amount of fun that they're having when they got these just. I mean, you read the Grifters and then you read anything else he does. You read The Shark Infested Custard and then you read Miami Blues. You can go through the whole rigmarole of just like
Yeah.
these.
I think, and I could be certainly be incorrect here, but I think that the only character that Thompson ever repeated was Lou Ford.
Probably, I
I
don't know. I'm more into his like. I mean, the Grifters to me is that's my favorite of his, and not
Yeah.
even just the subject matter being in Los Angeles and all that, but like uh, the volition of it, the three character volley. I mean, I geeked out so hard on that when I read it. I don't know, 20 years ago, and I still think about it all the time. I'll reread the book. I'll rewatch the movie.
Right.
Like it's just, it's great. It's just, but for what it's worth, I mean, I think I don't know, I don't think about anything more than like what's in front, right? Like if there's going to be another book with Cam Kilbride, if she lives through this book or whatever, bring her
Right.
from the dead
Sure.
or whatever the fuck, like I haven't even thought or entertained any of that because I'm on to the next thing. Like it's the work, man. Like it's Down and Out's going to put out my second short story collection next year, and now I'm thinking about that and like, and I've already submitted it. It's done, But now I'm thinking like, well, shit, I got 12 months. I could probably I could probably tighten some bolts and put in some, then you start tinkering or whatever. But my brain's always just going forward. And if there was some reason why I should return to something and, make another book with Albie Drake from Neon Lights or like Joe Delancey who survived Gallows Zone barely, like I'd entertain it, but at the same time, I have no plan on how I'd go about doing any of that.
Interesting. Yeah. No, I asked only because it's so interesting. Writers are so different that way, and some people just write straight up series, right? Which is,
Mm-hmm.
whatever. But other writers will do things like kind of like you just mentioned, where they'll write a novel about a character and then years later write a short story and that character's in it.
You know what? Like if it's in your head and it's got to come out, it's got to come out.
Yeah,
And to tell you the truth, like there's nobody judging any of it but you,
right, exactly.
right?
Yeah.
So if I want to write a story about so and so that I wrote in some story I got published in Thuglit 10 years ago, I'm gonna do it because I want to sleep at night. I want to stop thinking about it,
Yeah.
right? Like it's just like I said earlier, is like if you can turn it off, then maybe you should, right?
Yeah.
So it's like if you can't turn it off and it's needling at you, then get it
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
Be
Right.
done with it. You don't have to send it anywhere. You
Totally.
can leave it on your laptop and just have it come to you 5 years later and be like, hey,
Yeah.
read me one more time.
Yeah.
Maybe you want to send me out. Or it's
Yeah.
completely controlled by you.
Like Jack Clark, who wrote Nobody's Angel, which was on
Mm-hmm.
Hard Case. He has a story in the new review that
Cool.
we published called Eddie Miles Drives Again. And
Ooh.
right, and it's just literally this character that he had back then that he didn't really necessarily think he was gonna write again, but all of a sudden he needed to
Did
write the
your
story.
did your conversation with him light the match for
I don't
him to go back and return to this?
No, it did not.
Uh,
And I'll tell you why, because Charles Ardai from Hardcase actually sent me the email first saying, "Hey, Jack sent me this story, but we don't publish shorts." So, uh,
well, that's cool though.
oh,
That's
it's
really
super.
cool.
Oh my God, yeah, it's that's amazing. Charles, yeah, Charles is just a amazing guy. He really is very generous.
I had the first 50 hard case crimes that were delivered to me through their subscription. Like I saw an ad for it and I subscribed and I got number
Nice.
one and I got like number one through 50. And then that's when I ended the subscription number, but I still have them. And that my daughter is an avid reader and I'm just waiting. Like she's probably like a year or two away to where I could just be like, take these. Here's your read these and then we'll talk about it. All
Here-
50 of them.
Here's your education. Yeah.
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 Let's talk about Day Keen at Thanksgiving. But no, what Hardcase has done culturally as spreading the word on
Yeah.
just like the lost stuff of the greats, the stuff that Black Lizard didn't mind, and I mean Barry Gifford is a hero, and
Oh yeah.
I've had to meet him. He's blurred my book. We've corresponded, and he's just like I couldn't even imagine like being able to pull that off, like but it brings a smile to my face just talking about it. Like it's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing.
It is.
And Hardcase picked up where that left off, I believe.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I just I love that. I mean, I was a huge vintage crime Black Lizard dude in the
Mhm.
80s, 90s. And obviously, I mean, I'm not even gonna, I would never refute this in 100 years. Um, that was a big impact on us starting Starlight and what we wanted
Mhm.
to do. Although we did want to add in the sci-fi Twilight Zone-esque kind of
Yeah.
aspect as
I
well.
mean, anything that's rooted in authenticity, regardless of like whatever genre that needs to be subscribed to it, it's undeniable when you read it, right? It's like yeah, I was reading a Philip K. Dick book last week,
Yeah.
and it's like a takes place on another planet for this being that wants to raise a chapel, but he needs a guy that can put pots together. But the whole story is about this guy who's a pot healer who can make clay pots whole again. But it's a dying profession. His dad taught him to do it. He's on Earth. He's got no fucking prospects. And this alien's like, well, why don't you just come up and see? And everyone's like, you're gonna fucking die. And he's like, well, I'm fucking dead here already. And he
Right.
goes, right? So it's like the semblance of authenticity and truth in that is that everyone works a shit fucking job. They get good at it and they don't care about it. And then someone comes along and it's like, you're the best shoe cobbler
Right.
in
Yeah.
2025.
It's
I
beautiful.
need you
Yeah.
to come to, or whatever. So it's like you could sit here and describe that to somebody about like, oh, I'm reading this really crazy sci-fi book. When really it's like, you know what? You're reading a book that everyone fucking understands, dude.
Exactly. It's barely even sci-fi. It just
No,
has
it's
another
a
planet.
fucking horror story if you ask me, dude.
Right, exactly.
Right? We've all
Exactly.
worked those jobs. But that's what blows my mind with him and with any great author. It's so entrenched in authenticity that it's undeniable,
Oh, I
and
mean,
it doesn't matter what they're writing.
I would argue that half of Bradbury's catalog is horror. It's
You
it's
know
set,
what? I
it's
think that
set
he
as
would.
sci-fi,
I
but
think that he
it's
would. I
horror.
don't think he would even put a tag on it. You know. I think Bradbury was, yeah, so prolific and just what I love about like my daughter being such an avid reader is it has me revisiting all these books,
Yeah. Yeah.
and that because my wife's like, is this appropriate? I'm like, well, you know what? Let me get back into this, and then you re fall in love with this stuff that's just concrete, you
Yeah.
know, and that's the essence of like anything art that's ever like made a difference in my life. It's concrete, it's authentic, it's not trying to be something that's popular now or
Right.
something it ain't, right? You can read through that shit and it can sell a million copies and good on you.
Yeah.
But is it going to impact a 12-year-old's life when I give her Jaws and she's not supposed to read it? Like
Right.
it's like there are levels to things that change you as a person, and I think fiction has a big part in that if you're a reader.
But Nolan, man, seriously, that's the amazing ability of art, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is that, and I'm not saying you are going to do it or I'm going to do it. That it's not the point, but art has the ability to raise your consciousness onto something that you've never even thought of before. And
No, I I learned all that through skateboarding when I was a kid
nice,
because skateboarding it was just constant failure until it wasn't, right?
right?
It was people stoked on you for your ability from no matter what their background, denomination, anything. You're just like stoked on this one thing, like you did this, and then you forge your own community through a pathway of the admiration of an artistic act. And when it's learned through failure upon failure and bruises and surgeries and all this shit, it just becomes ingrained, right? And but the tricky thing about skateboarding is if there's no style to it, then no one gives a shit. You could Tony Hawk your way down a 30 stair doing whatever the fuck, but if it looks lame, no
Right,
one's going to be like, congratulations, you didn't break your neck. Everyone's going to be like, next,
right.
right? Like, style's everything, risk is everything, and individuality is completely accepted, right? That's your feather in your cap. And I think all art, that taught me about the acceptance of all art.
Yeah,
If I finish a book and I'm not working on anything, I have to just go to museums, go to movies that I wouldn't watch.
yeah,
I go to plays that I don't even know what they are, buy a ticket, I'm lucky enough where I live in an area where I can go to a revival house. There's theaters down the street. There's concerts. There's all kinds of shit going on, right? And if I just throw myself at it and I'm open to whatever it is, regardless if I'm interested in it, then it tends to have a nurturing effect, you know? And then it kind of gets you percolating on what you're going to do next.
Sure. Yeah. Okay, so last question,
Yeah.
and then we're done. What you mentioned you wrote this book, um, Gorgon of Los Feliz,
Mm-hmm.
in the or during the pandemic, I believe. Uh, and you mentioned earlier that you are or have just finished up a short story collection. So what are you currently working on?
Well, the the book Gorgon of Los Feliz and the short story collection, it's called Cracks in the Sidewalk, were both presented to Down and Out, and they took them last year or a little before last year. And right now, I've been working on the same book for 2.5 years, and it's the most ambitious thing I've ever written or
Right.
ever tried to write.
Okay.
I researched it for a year before I started writing it.
Nice.
Um, so I guess that puts me 3.5 years deep into it. Um, but it's a novel about the cyclical destruction of Los Angeles, and it's more of a nihilistic tone than my previous noir novels, and there's not much crime involved in it. But it was just something I was compelled to do, and I've never wavered from it for this past time, and it's been fun, man. It's the funnest thing I've ever written, and I don't know if anyone will ever read it. You know, right now I don't have a literary agent, and I
Yeah.
wouldn't know where to shop it, and so it's like, but I'm just enjoying every minute of writing it, and I remember I heard this. Did you see that Robert Gottlieb documentary?
No.
The editor, he had this quote in it, and he was saying he's all, um, anybody can be cute, but not everybody can be industrious. And it's like dot 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 with results. And I have that hanging over my fucking computer in my office, just like it's just like the work's got to be done. It's
Yeah.
getting done. Not everyone can be in something for this long, and I don't know if it's gonna pan out, but I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
It's the only thing I want to do.
That's awesome. All right. Well, there you go. Amazing. Nolan's new novel here is The Gorgon of Los Feliz, and this is our new book, Starlight Pulp Review number 6. We did that just came out last month. Quite frankly, I think it's honestly one of the very best of the bunch. Anybody that's watching, go ahead and pick those up. And Nolan, hang out for a sec. But otherwise, we'll see y'all soon.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having me.
Of course, man.
In this top secret